Create instant charisma using science. There are 4 steps to becoming charismatic: instantly capturing people's attention and influencing them. I'll walk you through them step by step. And we'll start with the first step: appearance. The illustration shows 2 men. They weigh the same, but their body fat and muscle percentages are different. Do you think their salaries are the same too? Economists from the US Federal Reserve have found a clear correlation. Every extra kilogram of fat reduces salary by 1%, while every kilogram of muscle increases it by 1.5%. If one of them has 10 kilograms less fat but 10 kilograms more muscle, appearance alone creates a 20% difference in income. Yes, there's always someone you know who's overweight and earns a high salary. But if you look at thousands of people, the pattern repeats itself. It's like average height. On average, men are 7 to 10 centimeters taller than women, though a specific woman might be taller than a specific man. You arrive at an interview with the same IQ and resume. While you're talking about your skills, the person across from you is already unconsciously scanning your waist, face, and posture. An ancient program is activated within them: the assessment of reproductive and social potential. We inherited these mechanisms from hunter-gatherers, for whom physique and skin condition were direct markers of health, strength, and immunity. Maybe this only applies to job interviews, impulsive decisions, but do investors think purely logically? No. A study from China showed that with a budget of 100 yuan, investors put 24 yuan less into funds managed by unattractive managers. The difference disappeared only when the unattractive manager delivered a 4% higher return, and inflation in China at the time was just 0.2%, so 4% is really significant there. Different countries, different samples, different approaches. The conclusion is the same: the more attractive ones earn more. You often hear, "He's a handsome guy on the outside, but his liver's already failing on the inside." Let's check it out. In one study, 161 women were photographed. One camera, one distance, no makeup. Each was rated by 100 men on a scale from 1 to 9, which practically eliminated individual taste preferences. Then came the blood tests. Facial attractiveness correlated with lower levels of cholesterol, triglycerides, and glucose, as well as lower body weight. Severe obesity shaves about 10 years off your life, reduces sensitivity to dopamine, and puts a strain on the heart and joints. And on top of that, as we've already established, it also cuts into your income. If we remove professional bodybuilders with fatty liver disease and blood pressure medication from the equation, the picture is clear. An athletic physique, clear skin, and good posture are visual markers of health. And health brings with it the following bonus: sex appeal. In short, what attracts? For men, a V-shaped physique, height, and facial features. For women, waist to hip ratio, face, and a moderately low body fat percentage. Breast size, by the way, ranks lower than these variables. So appearance is linked to money, health, and sexuality. It's proven. But why does its influence extend far beyond these 3 factors? Why does a heterosexual man, when looking at an attractive woman, not only think of her as a partner, but also be more likely to choose her as a doctor, business partner, or manager, even if they never meet in person and only speak on Zoom once a month? This is the halo effect. Attractive people are automatically perceived as more trustworthy, honest, and intelligent. In an online experiment, the same faces, after being enhanced with a filter, received higher ratings across 4 parameters: intelligence, trustworthiness, sociability, and happiness. Even without any real changes, a single photo edit alone changes how you're perceived. And here's one underrated tool: friendliness. Not a forced smile 24/7 that looks fake and even a little silly. This is a strategy from game theory. When meeting a stranger for the first time, you behave moderately open, which in itself yields a sincere smile. If the person doesn't reciprocate or tries to manipulate you, you close off. Mathematically, this yields maximum positivity with minimum risk. Look at the results of the Big Five test for people with different facial expressions: smiling, neutral, and sullen. The same appearance, but the ratings for agreeableness, conscientiousness, extroversion, and emotional stability change dramatically. We don't walk around with a single expression all the time, but the overall vibe you give off, those very micro signals on your face, are always at work without you even realizing it. You can't grow 10 centimeters taller or reshape your skull, but you have complete control over your body fat percentage, your posture and physique, your skin, clarity and hygiene, your energy level and self-confidence. These things are picked up on a subconscious level faster than you can utter your first word. Your appearance isn't a passport photo. It's a signal you're sending out to the world every second. Step 2. Nonverbal signals. Act with confidence. Body language is your true form of communication. While words are merely its voice, people pick up on nonverbal signals automatically, in a fraction of a second, even before you open your mouth. Nonverbal communication is evolutionarily older than speech. For thousands of years, people survived by assessing the threat or intentions of another person based on their posture and movements, long before the emergence of language. That's why the brain is literally wired to read the body faster and trust it more than words. Key point: the body is much harder to control than speech. Words can be rehearsed and lied about, but involuntary tension in the shoulders, a darting gaze, or fidgety hands, these are leaks of information that are almost impossible to suppress consciously. That is precisely why people instinctively trust the body more. Research shows that about 90 to 93% of a first impression is based on nonverbal cues. When you walk into a room, your posture, pace, and facial expression are already speaking for you before you've even said a word. The person across from you has already made a preliminary judgment. Is this a confident and competent person or not? This is critical in your work. For example, when you're negotiating with a client on Zoom or in a meeting, your image as an expert is built primarily on how you sit, look, and move, not on what you say about your portfolio. Posture and poise. A straight back and squared shoulders instantly convey confidence and status. Slouching is interpreted as insecurity or fatigue. This isn't a metaphor, it's the automatic interpretation of your conversation partner's brain. Eye contact. A calm, steady gaze is considered a sign of sincerity and confidence in your position. A shifty gaze is an instant red flag for dishonesty. Hand gestures. Open palms symbolize trust and honesty. Arms crossed over the chest signal closed offness and a defensive reaction. Fingers folded into a house shape are associated with confidence in one's position and leadership. Movements. Slow, purposeful movements indicate control over the situation. Fidgeting, shifting, and tapping are markers of anxiety that people pick up on quickly and often unconsciously. Social psychologist Amy Cuddy has proven that adopting confident postures literally changes your internal state. When you intentionally maintain an open, strong posture, even if you don't feel confident inside, your brain begins to perceive itself differently, and confidence becomes real. In other words, the body and one's state of mind form a feedback loop, not a one-way street. Body language directly signals to those around you how firmly you will stand your ground. If your body signals insecurity, people unconsciously stop taking you seriously, even if your words are flawless. In sales, negotiations, and business meetings, this means lost clients and lower rates, not because you're a poor professional, but because your body didn't convey value. Step 3. Voice. A person's persuasiveness and inner core are reflected in their voice and tone, diction, and appearance. If you have a low, hoarse voice, even the most nonsense will sound more convincing. In 2016, it was noted that after testosterone testing, while playing poker, people bluffed more often with weak hands and less often with strong ones. In other words, more confident behavior manifests when there is substance behind it, rather than emptiness. What does improving your voice actually achieve? The first benefit is purely technical. You become easier to understand. Your voice directly influences how others perceive you. Men generally prefer higher pitched female voices, unless, of course, the pitch becomes unpleasantly extreme. But a 2011 study revealed something curious. 45 women unconsciously raised their voices when recording a message for a more masculine avatar. On speed dates, the opposite was true. Both men and women lowered their voices when speaking to an attractive conversation partner. Researchers suggested that women did this to appear more serious rather than frivolous. So improving your voice is a kind of social elevator, a background factor like good posture, intelligence, or financial stability. Subtle but effective. For example, Tony Robbins, with his deep, commanding voice, commands a lot of space and has a powerful influence on people. If he had a childlike voice, he simply wouldn't be taken seriously and wouldn't have become very wealthy. Now for the practice, the point is to create a new neuromuscular connection. You've already gotten used to speaking in a certain way, the very way you don't like. So you need to retrain yourself. Turn on your front-facing camera. Read any passage aloud for a minute or two. This is your baseline. Then do the exercises and record yourself again. The difference will be noticeable right away. The preparation is simple. Stand up straight, with your back against a wall for a few minutes. Breathe with your abdomen, not your chest. Every 20 to 30 seconds, yawn loudly. This will increase your lung capacity and stretch your facial muscles. And now for the main part. Take a wine cork and a page of tongue twisters. Hold the cork horizontally between your teeth and read aloud for 10 minutes. Your cheeks will ache and your speech will sound funny and slurred. That's normal. The main thing is to pronounce every letter really clearly, especially the endings. It's like with dumbbells, 10 reps with a light weight. Zero effect. 10 reps with a heavy weight, your muscles grow. It's the same here. When the tongue twisters start to feel easy, move on to sets of letters, ones that don't exist in Russian. It sounds strange, but it pushes your articulation to the limit. After that, no complex words will intimidate you. Now about biohacks. Lip balm. It sounds silly, but it's a real biohack. When doing the cork exercise, your lips stretch a lot, and the balm literally improves facial expressions and articulation. Choose a colorless, oily one. Drink water. Systematic hydration improves pronunciation. It's explicitly stated in a 2019 systematic review. It's cheap, simple, and it works. A straight back, diaphragmatic breathing, a cork with tongue twisters, water, and your voice will be transformed. It will become richer, clearer, and more pleasant to those around you. Step 4. Hormones and neuroplasticity. Charisma is the right mix in the brain of hormones and neurotrophins. Let's break each of them down in more detail. Dopamine is the substance of motivation and anticipation, the desire to do something. Dopamine, biochemically speaking, all the aspects of charisma listed above are linked to how dopamine works. In psychiatry, there are a number of conditions characterized by elevated dopamine levels. Mental disorders are when a person can prove they're right, and from the outside they may appear quite charismatic. Bipolar disorder involves depression, followed by a manic phase. If the condition is not in its most extreme form, such a person is highly motivated, sleeps very little, feels great, and yet isn't even a biohacker. Well-known psychostimulants increase dopamine levels, and the person becomes bold, attentive, and active. In 2016, an article was published stating that charisma, the speed of responses to questions, and speech are more important than accuracy or IQ. If a person answered quickly, they appeared smarter and more charismatic, whereas a person with a high IQ analyzes the question and ponders the answer. The primary male hormone, testosterone, can influence appearance and voice. Testosterone adds impulsivity, leading to poor decision making in simple situations. And it turns out that it reduces activity in the prefrontal cortex and impairs its functional connection with the amygdala. The role of this hormone is to limit brain function. When I'm right, I know it. Testosterone is the second important factor that boosts confidence in the correctness of one's actions. In the case of dopamine, this is linked to the ability to take up a lot of space and gesture actively. Testosterone. The rule here is to lose weight if you have excess fat. Exercise, interacting with an attractive member of the opposite sex, and lowering prolactin. Stop putting up with humiliation and any toxic people and cut ties with them immediately. If you don't like something, say it to their face right away. Lower prolactin. If you're a man, prolactin is the hormone responsible for patience and sociability. It sounds neutral, but when there's too much of it, a man starts to fall apart from the inside. Tearfulness and laziness set in, and motivation disappears. You put up with things you shouldn't, then beat yourself up over it. Your charisma vanishes. Your thoughts revolve around past mistakes. Guilt becomes the backdrop of your life. One of the main sources of excess prolactin is viewing restricted content at night. Stop wasting your energy on nothing and start channeling it into productive activities. Cortisol is a stress hormone produced by the adrenal glands every time the brain senses a threat or pressure. In small doses, cortisol is beneficial. It improves concentration, boosts blood circulation, and provides the energy needed to tackle a problem. In the morning, it naturally rises to wake you up and gradually declines throughout the day. The problem begins when stress becomes chronic. Then cortisol doesn't drop, and the body constantly lives in alert mode. How to lower it? Sleep is the foundation. Disrupted sleep the next day causes you to consume 30% more calories and keeps cortisol high. A dark, cool room, no gadgets an hour before bed. Physical activity, regular, not to the point of exhaustion. Intense workouts briefly raise cortisol, but then it drops below baseline, at least 150 minutes a week, spread evenly across the days. Diet, cut out sugar, alcohol, fast carbs, and caffeine. Add magnesium-rich foods, avocados, nuts, dark chocolate, green tea. Digital detox, minimize negative content, news, and anything that creates background anxiety. The brain doesn't distinguish between a real threat and one you just saw on your phone. Cortisol is produced in both cases. B. Breathing and relaxation. B. Meditation, deep breathing, walks in the fresh air. This isn't weakness, it's a direct effect on the nervous system that physically lowers hormone levels. Stop complaining. Start using difficulties. Problems aren't given to break you, they're fuel. Your task isn't to survive difficult situations, but to turn them into growth opportunities. Every difficulty makes you stronger, but only if you choose to. Start sleeping properly. 8 to 9 hours of quality sleep isn't a luxury, it's a foundation. Download the Sleep Cycle app. It analyzes your sleep phases and wakes you up at the right moment. Add earplugs and a sleep mask to block out noise and light. Try breathing only through your nose. You can tape your mouth shut with a special patch or paper tape. Start sleeping on the floor to improve your posture and the quality of your rest. The result? You'll wake up feeling energized, not like you've been run over by a truck. As for supplements, if your cortisol levels are high in your blood tests, take L-theanine. To boost dopamine and lower prolactin, take Dopa Mucuna. I've written a post about other supplements and tips. Check it out. It will really help you in life. Congratulations, you've figured out how to become charismatic. And if you want to learn how to win arguments even when you might be wrong, click on this video.